Faculty members, esteemed colleagues, dear participants, scholars, students. Assalamu alaikum, very good afternoon, and a warm welcome to all of you to this valedictory session of the quiz competition organized by the School of Law in celebration of the Constitution Day. At the outset, I bring warm greetings and a warm welcome to our guests, dignitaries, and participants from the School of Law, University of Kashmir. Today, we are celebrating Constitution Day. This day holds historical and constitutional significance, owing the fact that on this day, the framers of the Constitution completed the task of framing the Constitution and adopting it as a grundnorm for the nation. The Constitution Day, also known as Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated every year on 26th November to celebrate the adoption of the Constitution of India. On 26th November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India, which came into effect from January 1950. This year, the Constitution Day is celebrated on 26th November on the subject, India, the mother of democracy. We in the School of Law have been celebrating this day by organizing a variety of programs. For today's event, we have organized a legal quiz, keeping the broad themes of the Constitution in mind. With these words, I once again welcome our dignitaries, our guests, and participants to this session. Now I request Professor Beauty Bande, Head and Dean School of Law, to formally welcome our guests. Madam, please.
I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the valedictory session of the quiz competition, which has been organized by the School of Law, University of Kashmir, to celebrate the Constitution Day. Constitution Day is celebrated for the adoption of the Constitution on the 26th November 1949. This day holds significance owing to the historical facts and the fact that on this day, the framers of the Constitution completed the task of framing the Constitution. Constitution is a supreme lex of country, and as Hans Kelsen noted, it is the grand norm, a basic norm from which all other norms derive their validity. In the normative pyramid, the Constitution is placed at the top. When it comes to the Indian Constitution, it is one of the biggest constitutions of the world. It contains elaborate provisions dealing with organizations, functions, and responsibilities of the three organs of the state. Moreover, it provides for a federal form of the government by dividing powers between the union and states. Interestingly, the Constitution provides a gamut of rights under the kit of Part 3 of the Constitution. At the same time, it seeks to impose duties on the citizens under the rubric of the fundamental rights. One of the important parts of the Constitution is the preamble, which sets out the various values which the Constitution cherishes. It emphatically declares that India is sovereign, socialistic, secular, democratic, and republic. It lays stress on constitutional values like equality, fraternity, liberty, and justice. In fact, most of the basic features of the Constitution are reflected in the preamble itself. Some of the basic features of the Constitution which cannot be abrogated by the Parliament are secularism, Republican form of the government, federalism, parliamentary form of the government, judicial review, and rule of law.
Constitutional Day is a very blissful day for us. Blissful day for us in the sense that I am reminded of the Savarna Singh Committee, 1969. The Constitution is a document, Constitution is a Bible, which guarantees your those rights, including the fundamental rights. But for me, the day is important because since 1969 and since the inception of the Salman Singh Committee, it imposed some duties upon the citizens, and that was very much needed when we realized after practicing this Bible for almost 50 years that we need to have a sense of duty with the citizenry. Not only the bundle of rights that being a citizen, you are entitled to this and that and that and that, but being a citizen, you are also to do these things. I am reminded by a great quote of Gandhiji that, and very great jurist, Doug, who says that in any sovereign country, in any state ruled by any mechanism, whether it's an ecclesiastical system, whether it's a constitution type of legal system, whether it's a communist regime or a monarchy, different kinds of legal systems, wherever you are ruled and by which regime you are ruled and by which legal system you are basically governed. Fact of the matter is that you need to basically be conscious that we are the citizens and then having certain duties.
The complaint that needs to be addressed is that the sacred constitution, which is of course the handiwork for around 5 or odd years, is not respected as much in letter and spirit as it had been sacredly drafted and envisaged. There were lots of effects on the framers of the Constitution. Dr. Yasin has already given a list of the framers. There are many more. C.R. Das, Mr. Iyengar, Pandit Nehru, they all hailed from the profession of law. You see, soon after attainment of independence in 1947, it was a Herculean task for the framers of the Constitution to provide a manuscript which would be a manuscript respected by heterogeneous and diverse population of India. The Hindus, the Muslims, the Christians, the Dalits, the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the indigenous population, the tribal people especially, who still proclaim that धरती भगवान ने बनाई, हुकूमत कहाँ से आई. They had not even recognized the British government. Now, at the time of Indian independence, you had two types of states in India. Those which were known as provinces and princely states. The princely states were not subjected even to the British Empire, so they were outside the British Empire. The drafters of the Constitution had therefore to adopt a manuscript which would be acceptable to all, whether they were falling within the so-called domain of India or were living in the princely states. So the first Herculean task for them was to bring the princely states under the fold of a constitution which was acceptable to them.
I'm thankful to the Department of Law and the Dean and Head of Department of Law for coming to the expectations of the university and also coming to the rescue of the administration at times. So as we know that today we have been asked to celebrate the Constitution Day, and we thought it is appropriate, though there are some other departments which need to celebrate this day, but we thought it is most appropriate to celebrate it in the Department of Law, and I am grateful to the head and dean and Mr. Yasin also that they have already probably conducted the quiz program, and this is the valedictory function of the same, and I am thankful and I am grateful to all. Coming to the constitution, which I need not to teach because you are all from the Department of Law and you are teacher of teachers rather in this field minimum. So, but as a common man of the country, when we travel from what Ayub Saab and what Hussain Saab and Yasin Saab already talked about, and the head in Professor Beauty ji also talked about, when we say about the India, we all say that it is the most diverse country in the world, because we see almost when Ayub Saab talked, we talked about the 300 million people at the onset of independence, and now it is almost 1.40 billion people are only living in India. And I had an opportunity to travel to the most parts of the India when I was working in Delhi. And if you go from Kashmir to Kanyakumari or to north or south or east to west of the India, you see, you amaze where we live. So much diverse in every field, whether it is the people, whether it is the environment, whether it is the weather, whether it is the forests, whatever it is, whether it is the oceans, we see it is a hugely diverse country, which probably is very difficult to rule also. Because when we see that we have taken fundamental rights from some country, we have taken some from Irish, we have taken from some Britain, we have taken some from US. So probably it was required also, because keeping in view the diversity of the India as a country. And if you see, if you have gone to the historical perspective of other countries, if you go to the Australia, if you go to the US, you see that in our subject, when we talk about the original people of such countries, we see the aboriginals, whether it is Australia, whether it is America, they have been almost rooted out. And now it is a country of those who have rather invaded those countries, whether it is US, whether it is Australia. So probably they need not to have such a diverse constitution which we as a country need for the benefit of people. And it was what we know all, that it is the largest document at the world level. So we see that almost all aspects have been taken care. I don't mind to accept or admit that we don't face certain issues in the country, but what comes to our rescue, that is most important. When we say that when it was resolved when the constitution was adopted in 1949, 26 November, it was what quiz teaches us, that we the people, it is not the constitution of India resolves, it is we the people resolve that India is a socialist, sovereign, secular, democratic republic.
So far as this constitutional day is concerned, the most important part of the constitution so far I have studied is not fundamental rights but directive principle of state policy, because those are the objectives and means of the constitution. From directives we derive the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are only the means to enforce those directive principles of state policy. This whole process culminates into rights and duties, right-duty relationship. If you have a right, then there is a corresponding duty upon another person. If you have duty, then there is a right upon some other person. So this whole process it culminates into 2-3 words, that is mutual rights and duties, and constitutional duties, constitutional rights, legal rights. These are different topics. But we are concerned with constitutional directive principles are not enforceable, as we know that in DRC we had a discussion that program schemes are enforceable, yes, they are enforceable, but when directive principles of state policy are not enforceable, they are the direct articles of the constitution. So schemes can be withdrawn anytime, but directive principles of state policy are also not enforceable. They are enforceable, only their enforceability depends upon the financial stability of the country. If financial stability of the country is such that they can enforce a directive principle, then it depends upon the parliament, whether they will make it a legal right or they will make it a constitutional right or a fundamental right. They will make. Then they have to amend the fundamental rights. If they want to make it a constitutional right, then they have to add a part in the constitution. If they want to make it a legal right, then they have to enact a separate legislation.